Hi, welcome back to my studio. In this painting I'm going to tackle one of the key problems in paintings, and that is inadequate light and shadow. And I'm going to actually refer to an older painting and show you what I mean between the before and after. So stick around to the end of the video and practice what you've seen, and I guarantee you'll see a big change in your paintings. Let's have a look at how this works out. Now I'm going to look at an old painting which I found, and here it is. And you can probably see in this painting that the light is not correctly described. The painting is all pretty much middle values. So I'm going to have a look at this a bit closer and discuss the question of using values and color temperature, and then also the paint application itself. So we turn this painting with potential into something that is complete and a lot more powerful and attractive, because you want people to notice the painting. Maybe you're selling a painting, or you simply want a little showpiece in your house. This is going to show you how to take the painting just that step further. So instead of calling it finished at this stage, it's going to be halfway done, and you're going to finish it on a high note. Let's have a look how it works out. So here's our painting on the left, and on the right is simply a reference photo of a sunny day, sort of a countryside scene, something similar to what the painting is based on. The painting is really painted from imagination, which is one of the problems with inadequate lighting in a painting. Instead, refer to real life. As far as possible, if you can paint outdoors, do that. Otherwise, make a close note of the landscape in reality. Take some good reference photos and remind yourself of what the lights and shadows are in the real scene. You can see a vast difference in the brightness of the scene. If we just look at the grass in the middle ground, you can see that it's that sort of color, that sort of washed out yellow ochre color. If we put that in our painting and have a look at it, you can see, look how bright it should be for a sunny day. And we can tell we're trying to paint a sunny day here because there are quite strong shadows, but the light is more of a middle value rather than a light value on the more towards the extreme light. Even the sky is completely wrong. If we look at our reference photo, we can get an idea. It's quite blown out, of course, but still it gives us an idea of that sort of very light blue, light warm blue. Try that on our painting. We can see the colors are much too dark, and unfortunately for a lot of beginner paintings, they tend to look like this, where the lights are very dark, much darker than they should be. So if we push those lights, we can get a much brighter, sunnier looking scene. And of course our shadows, well, shadows leave much to interpretation, and but they are quite colorful. If we look in our reference over here, they're probably something more like that, right? A sort of warmish gray blue, but we could push the blue a little more, and the shadows in this painting are not that bad. They can work, but we can bring a little more color into them, something like that, because there's quite a lot more light coming from the sky and reflecting into those shadows. So perhaps not necessary to make them as dark, especially over here, but that's the difference. So anyway, we can use a few tools to our disposal. A value scale, which you may have seen me use before, and you can find that on your color wheel as well. And then mixing your colors to correspond somewhat to what the values should be. Another issue is color temperature, right? A dark sort of yellow ochre in the painting there is much cooler than what it should be. Let's say we should be using something like that, which is much warmer. All right, so direct sunlight on that will make it much warmer. Of course, colors far away are going to be cooler as well, but they can still be lighter, right? It's still light, but cooler, right? Compared to a green, perhaps in the foreground, it's going to be much warmer because there's more yellow in that color. It's right up close to us. So color temperature does play an important part, as well as values. Well, let's see how this translates in our painting. Right, so now we can work out this painting and get the values correct, make those colors really stand out and get a strong light effect. I'm pre-mixing a few colors to the correct value for the sky, and that's as bright as we were seeing it on the screen a bit earlier, and what a difference that makes. And when you do this, it has a knock-on effect on the entire painting, and you have to adjust the values accordingly. So always get your sky value correct. It's definitely, for the most part, lighter and warmer than you may realize. Just softening those edges to remind me to do so later. Getting in a grey sky with a bit of orange mixed into that blue, or at least grey clouds, and some highlights on those clouds, and that should give us a bit more of an interesting sky. Now, using that blue and some red light, I'm going to adjust the colors on the mountain. And that's a corresponding upgrade in the value there, lightening that value up, and then applying the shadows as well. This will also increase the sense of distance and atmosphere in the painting. I'll bring a bit of yellow ochre, blue and white to create some foothills. The distant tree line, we can also soften that up a bit as well to create more light and atmospheric look to the painting. A little bit darker at the foot of the trees to account for shadow over there, but now you can see a lot more distance and atmosphere in the background. Now moving into the foreground, once again I'm going to pre-mix a few colors, starting from a sort of yellow ochreish pinkish color, kind of grey down a bit at the foot of the trees, warming up and getting lighter into the foreground. As color recedes, the yellows disappear first and you go into the reds, etc. So it follows I've got to get the colors warmer and with more yellow as we get to the foreground, which I'm doing here, and look at the tremendous boost in light and color just by applying bright light values to the grass. Add some variety though, break things up a bit. I'm not completing this painting as such. You could add a lot more texture and variety in subsequent layers, so regard this as a fairly good blocking in to communicate and get the idea of light and color. And the whole theme of the video is to just illustrate the effect of getting the correct light and value into your scene. The shadows, basically blue is involved, and you can decide how you want to develop your shadows. Do you want them to be more violet, or you're going to try and just get that sort of grey-blue effect that we saw in the screen a bit earlier? I definitely like my shadows to have a bit more blue in them, so I will probably follow that theme in this one as well. Getting some strong dappled light in the foreground, as you can see, And now moving into the road colors. A cooler color further along the road, and it'll warm up a bit as we get into the foreground. You can also add more paint into the foreground and use a bigger brush to get more texture. You want the foreground to sort of rise up, and to do that we need the colors to be a little warmer. You can see the value contrast between the light on the road and the grass is very, very close in value. And that once again makes the scene look much more light-filled. Bigger strokes, letting some of the underpainting show through for extra texture and those markings that you find on a road like this. Direction markings. The shadow colors on the right, combination of earth tones with blue and also yellow with blue. Yeah, I'm just bringing in a bit more of that blue into that shadow, and I think that's the way I will go. Cerulean white and some yellow ochre gets me this grayish blue. A little more alizarin takes it to the violet range, but you can see the shadow is lighter, more colorful, and it just lifts the scene a bit as well. Shadows must of course be darker and cooler, but they can still be colorful. Improvising a little with the dark shapes there. The grass in shadow, it's not black, of course, it's still a green, but just a dark green, so don't make it too dark. Of course, in the depths of the shadow of the trees, there will be some strong darks, but nevertheless, it's more of a color temperature variety back there. It's not black color, it is simply a lot of variations of darks in a manipulation of color temperature. Bit of dappled light helps those shadows to come to life again. And the main body of the trees is actually not too bad, because it's a series of darks with a little bit of variety in there. I'm going to just try to simplify it a little if I can, with a variety of greens ranging from some light to shadow. A few highlights here or there. I'll also need to soften up a few of the edges just to get that sort of a three-dimensional look to the trees, but not spending too much time with them, just getting an idea. These touches of burnt sienna and orange adding a much needed red note against all that greenery. Try to keep the shape simple, kind of abstract. Don't try to paint the leaves, just look for shapes of light and dark. And finish off by correcting the figure. And that's pretty much the painting done. And certainly, I think you can already see a big difference in color. But more importantly, the light. Right, so this is one way to rejuvenate a painting, or make sure your painting is light-filled from the start. Just a shadow for the figure to tie that down to the earth. The legs could just be a little longer there. A few little sparks of light here or there. And I think that's definitely an improvement. I'll show you the original picture in a moment, and you can just compare the before and after. But hopefully you'll agree it has improved. Well, I hope that illustrated the effect that light and shadow can bring to your painting, and when you push the lights something to what is more realistic, you're going to see that impactful painting. And why shouldn't you? Because that's what attracted you to the scene in the first place. So now you're really getting that light effect, and it's just by making those changes, trying to observe the light for what it really is, and make something more of the shadows as well to complement and support the light elements in the painting. Well, if that demo helped you out and gave you a few ideas for your next painting or how to fix an old painting, please give this video a like. It'd be great if you could subscribe as well. There's plenty more videos coming your way. And don't forget, I've got a free course for you in the link up here, or maybe in the description below. Go along and see what's on offer there. I'm sure you won't regret it either. Well, I hope you enjoy trying this out in your next painting. And until next time, cheers for now.